Hello and welcome to the online Assyrian reading lessons. My name is Dr. Madeleine Davis and I will teach you this course using my book, which is called the Assyrian Reading Lessons in 6 Days, which you may purchase from lulu.com. Now, please don't imagine that I want to force you to buy my book in order to make money. In fact, if you check at the Lulu's website, you will find that the second edition of this book is currently sold at $4, from which I make about 50 cents. And some of my friends ask me, why do you bother to publish books if you make so little money out of them? Well, there are several reasons that include historical, ethical, and personal reasons. Now, I don't want to give you a lecture on the history of our nation, and I don't want to give a sermon on ethics. All I can say is that the Assyrian nation lost their homeland more than 2,500 years ago. And during this time, somehow miraculously, they have managed to preserve their identity and their language, despite all the genocides, forced migrations, wars, hunger, and all the difficulties that they had to put up with. So I suppose that there's something within some of us who makes us feel that we have to preserve our identity and especially our language. Now, there's also the ethical issue. Many people, many benevolent people and even countries, they devote millions of dollars each year and vast areas of land in order to preserve endangered species. So I suppose I have the same feeling that I must do something in order to preserve an endangered language. And in fact, this is a very critical moment for the history of our people and our language, because in recent events in Middle East, more than half the population that still speak this language were forced to immigrate to the Western melting pots, where there's a very little hope that they will be able to preserve their language. Now, in my opinion, preserving an old language is not less important than preserving a plant or an animal. And indeed, many linguists in recent years, they insist on the importance of preserving dying languages, and they explain why these languages contribute to the whole of the human civilization. And the Assyrian language at present day is one of the oldest, if not the oldest language. And it is important because the Assyrians were the first artists, the first scientists, the first mathematicians, builders, inventors, who wrote everything that they did, everything that they found in this language. And they were later translated into other languages such as Greek and Arabic. And apart from that, many parts of the Bible were written in the Assyrian language before they were translated into other languages. So the Assyrian language is important from many points of view, from the anthropological, archaeological, sociological, linguistic, historical, religious, and biblical studies. For all these reasons, many people are still interested in the Assyrian language. And now, apart from these two reasons, there are also personal reasons, one of which is that this is my hobby at present, to prepare books in Assyrian, and now I'm preparing these videos. And moreover, there's a rising demand these days, because many of the Assyrians born in diaspora, whose parents neglected to teach them the language, now they are interested and they want to learn their mother tongue. And there are also non-Assyrians who come into contact with Assyrians in Western countries, and they want to know more about our people. They are curious and they think that they should learn our language. And there are also students at universities who study in the fields that I mentioned, or they do research in these fields, and they find that if they learn the Assyrian language, it will enhance their studies and their research. So I have received emails in the past few years asking me whether there's an easy way to learn the Assyrian language or whether there exist videos. And these emails have been an incentive for me to prepare these videos. Now, it is true that the Assyrian language is not one of the easiest to learn for various reasons. One is that we read and write from right to left, which may not be easy for everybody. The other reason is the existence of dialects. Now, the problem with dialects is that they have more exceptions than rules, and that nobody knows which one is the best dialect. In the 19th century, for one reason or other, the dialect of Urmia, which I speak, was selected, and many grammar books and dictionaries were written based on this dialect. However, I have found personally that teaching the dialect of Urmia is difficult, even to the natives who speak it fluently, because, as I said, it contains a lot of exceptions to the rules. Therefore, in my book, I have set aside dialects, and I have tried to follow in the footsteps of Melpanita, Joan Youssef, and Rabbi Yoarash Hedudencha, who have jointly published a book, and the second edition came out in 2002, in which they have explained the pronunciation system and the alphabet in a sort of standard way, and it contains no exceptions to the rules, so it is easier to follow. Actually, I do recommend their book. I have given the reference in my book, so once you have learned a little bit of reading, you may find their book very useful. It's a self-teaching book, and they explain writing and a little bit of grammar as well. Now, there will be no exams in this course, and actually I will cover the course in 7 sessions, because in the last session I will go through the exercises of lesson 6, and I will also explain some of the appendices. But I do recommend strongly that you do the exercises, and in order to do the exercises you will need a dictionary. There are 2 old dictionaries that you can buy from lulu.com, Author Publications. One is the Dictionary of Oraham, which explains the dialect of Urmia. I mean, the pronunciation is based on the dialect of Urmia. It contains more words, and in my exercises I have used a lot of words from the Oraham dictionary. As I mentioned there, the spelling of the words is not necessarily correct, but it does not matter. These are only for exercise, so you don't have to memorize the way the words are spelled. The other dictionary, which is also interesting, is by MacLean, and he explains the dialects of various parts. As you can see, I have surrounded myself with Assyrian art, modern art, and the reason is that I wanted to show you that the Assyrian alphabet is used not only for reading and writing, but also for painting. Now, this painting is by Isa Binyamin, and he was the pioneer who started this type of art, which he called Shabirut Ktifta, which means beautiful writing. In this work, which is painted on dyed leather, and actually all his works, or more, the majority of his works are on leather. He shows 2 different fonts. The font below is the Eastern Assyrian, which I will teach you, and the one above is Eastern Estrangello, which is at present used more for titles of books or titles of chapters. Now, this other work is by Reverend Shmuel Khangelde. He follows in the footsteps of Rabbi Isa Binyamin. Actually, Rabbi Isa unfortunately passed away recently, a few months ago, and it's a great loss to our nation. And Shmuel Khangelde, he also paints on leather. This is on leather, and he has more or less the same kind of approach. Whereas Sharukin Givergis, if I push this away first, Sharukingi Verghese, she has a completely different approach. In this work, she has used bits and pieces of alphabet and has put them together in a very beautiful pattern. And in this other one, where she uses the ancient Assyrian patterns, she has used the letter Alab, which is A in Assyrian, for the background. So the whole background is covered with Alab. Now, Isa Binyamin has also some books which are very useful. In this book, he shows how to write the letters correctly. He gives the width and the height of the letters, and he shows the way that they have to be written. So you may find this interesting if you want to learn Assyrian writing. And in this other book, he shows various fonts which are beautiful if you want to do painting in Assyrian with Assyrian letters. It's very interesting. Now, these people have websites, so if you want to browse their websites, you can always send me an email and I will send you their URLs. Now, I hope that you will enjoy this course. So goodbye and see you later.